This week on RSBANDB Update, it's Christmas time in Gielinor with the complete package of RuneScape holiday events. We cover It's Snow Bother, the Holiday Hub, new scarves, hats, presents, and why it's the holiday event we always wanted. We also have another look at Dracolich and Elite Sirenic. This is RSBANDB Update, episode 963, recorded Thursday, November 30th, 2023. The complete package. Hello, everybody, and welcome to another episode of RSBANDB Update this week. Tanis, welcome aboard. You're here as you are each and every week. Welcome back.
Thank you, Shane. Yes, I'm excited to be here. I'm tired. My eyes are tired, so no glasses tonight, but looking forward to we got some Christmas season events.
It's another one of those weird weeks like we had a few weeks back. But Thaxie's also here.
Hey.
You messaged me as soon as you saw the blog post for this saying you needed to be on the show this week.
Yeah, no, I immediately. This is my content. We love this.
Yeah, it really is wonderful.
Seasonal events that I think they did right.
But before we dive in too far, just a course reminder, you can find the full show notes at update.show. We also have a friends chat at BitsBytes, and the Discord is update.show/Discord. And I need to thank our experienced here Patreon supporters who make RSBANDB Update go. And this week, that's Amos Reed, Andrew C., Drama Free, Jason S., Jesse W., Kesky, Ricky A., Rippeth, Runestar, and The Naked Captain. Big, huge thank you to these people. And, of course, you'll learn a little bit more about the Patreon offerings a little bit later in the podcast. But, of course, you can also find me in-game at Shane12088. Tanis is at Tanis79, and Thaxie is Thaxie. All right. Christmas seasonal update.
Yeah.
Lands before December, which, some people would be a little bit shocked about. I remember some years we got this like around, the 14th to 16th, 18th of December, and it, was really only there for a quick quest, and that was it. And we, of course, had a wax and wane over previous years where we just had the presents from the sledge, and, that was it. And it
for a long
left
time,
a lot to be desired, didn't it, back then?
For a long time, they had like the full month, right? Where they had like do you remember winter weekends for a number of years?
Festivora.
Festivora. Oh my goodness, forgot about that. But yeah. And then they, did away with some of that, but like they would have those things running, and then they would have the actual event, which was the quest when it was a thing, for a period where that was still a thing they did. For just a couple of weeks, which makes sense. That's fine. That's what old school still does. That's what that was what the classic model was for RuneScape for a long time. Was most of the events run for a couple of weeks, and that's just enough. Enough time for people to log in, get their stuff done, get their rewards, and move along.
Yeah, and this was a major format change. Go ahead, Tanis.
I just want to say, for me, this lined up perfectly because Christmas for us begins. Well, basically,
day after Thanksgiving.
Exactly. We went to get we got our tree and put it up and everything, and so for this to drop on Monday, it was perfect. And it has everything. I can't wait to. I mean, we're going to get into it, but it just has a little something for everybody. It really feels like they included, a lot of the cohorts in this one.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and. I feel like the interesting thing to mention about this is we talked about, I think it was like November last year, we did the monthly bit on holiday events. And our conclusion from that, I think, is that there was this golden age of holiday events that it felt like the community was consistently telling Jagex to go back to, but we never really got there in a way. I think the closest we probably got to that was the 2020 era Halloween event, but of course that changed this year, and now we have something else. But this is an entirely new take on Christmas now. So the original, I remember that bit. I remember going into that bit. I was my brain. I have so much nostalgia factor for
the 2008, 2009 kind of like Christmas at the Wizard's Tower, Christmas at Santa's house in the wind, or at Death's house, and those that were like the specific insulated like one-off event, and you went and you did the event quest, and then you moved on to the like, you got your rewards and you moved on, and it was a little pretty. Maybe they did some like decoration somewhere, but like, that was the event. And I really liked those, like the story-based events. Yeah. And I like what we kind of realized, I think, by the end of that bit, which was one of those things that they needed more. So they needed to have things like, we loved what we talked about was like Violet is Blue, that like lighthearted storytelling needed to be there, that like some of that humor and some of the things like that. And then it was the community engagement part was the thing that we all also agreed that like they've done that okay in previous things, right? Like the beach was an excellent example of a holiday event that had long engagement.
I think that was probably like, kind of was that 14 or 15, I think.
But that kind of brings 13. Up
You talk, I'll look it up. You talk, I'll look it up.
Yeah, no, I was just going to say that brings up something that's interesting to me, which is Christmas Village. And I can't remember this kind of thing with Christmas. We've had it with other things. No. We haven't had it with Christmas since, I don't know, maybe the first year of the Crater when they had, the reindeer. Up
to No Good 2013. That was the one.
Yeah. I mean, but like they've done that for a lot of the events. We said basically, if you want to say, hey, look at this, players are taking part in these events and they're doing them for an extended period of time, it's worth the dev time. You have to have that extended play hours, right? That makes sense that they're extending their game. But you also like both the players are very, or at least the group of us that talked about this really wanted that story time. And so those are like going into this, those are the elements that we're looking at out of a holiday event to say, hey, you've done it well, is you've got that like RuneScape like comedy in it, and you've got that engagement and play hours, but you've also have something that is a good story.
Yeah.
Seasonally available. Yeah. And so, as we go through these things, that was what going into it we really wanted based on that bit. And if you want to listen to that bit, Patreon.
$1 a month, that's all you need.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, it sounds like what you guys like had landed on is what they've done this time, which is layering, right? Like you have the Christmas Village, which I hadn't, really enjoyed a Christmas event since the last time we had something like that. And then for you guys, Violet is Blue and having that story, this story is kind of, it's fun, and so there's another layer to it. We also then, we have a couple more layers that we're going to talk about for those thrill seekers, I guess, or that
the thrill seekers, the thrill
dopamine,
seekers.
Dopamine drops.
Okay, I know what you're talking about with that, and see, that's the thing, the ability to figure out, we got to rework the Christmas event and maybe do something more than just the presents, because you remember last year, I think it was last year. And the year before, December was effectively just patch notes and the microtransaction events at the time, coming off of the Elder God Wars in the previous year, and I think last year the Alcarid farming update there.
They kept bringing back wrapping paper and the big Christmas cracker and, like, decorations places. Like, they brought back seasonal things, like seasonal Prifdinus is always lovely.
Yeah. Which is not back this year, by the way. Well, interestingly enough.
Seasonal Prif isn't here.
No.
That surprised me, because I feel like that's just to toggle it on, but maybe they broke something.
Yeah, maybe that needs to be marked in. And the thing I want to say is that these previous years, it felt like it was a case of, just really focusing too much on the headliner content, whereas with this, it gets the full dev time of an update in that it's got, the environment around it, it's got the quest around it, and it's got the hub aspect for replayability for next year with that. So you pack all those things together, you get something that's immediately marketable as an update, which I think people have been saying that they've wanted. And for a long time, it felt like those calls for this kind of holiday event were in effect, falling on deaf ears, so to speak. So maybe this is the beginning of a different, trio of Christmas events: Christmas, Easter, Halloween. So
I mean, it sounds like it.
Oh, sorry.
Go ahead. Okay.
Oh, I was gonna say the other thing that I liked about this was they actually, have it through that portal thing, so it's not taking up any space on the main world. They didn't have to do. I'm like, yes, and that means you could bring it back, right? Like
you can also lodestone to it,
right? So I really like that too.
They talked about that on the live stream where they announced this, right? That the idea with this hub is that it's something that will come back year after year. So this will be the new air quotes crater, right? Like the beach crater. This will be that for Christmas. And they said if you look out at the outside of it, you can see that they added a ton of space. There's I think this is built across 4 map squares. It looks like. And they said all this space in and around the trees is stuff that can be used later, right? Like there's big open spaces even in the usable part of it, where they'll be installing stuff in future years to kind of build that Christmas village aspect to it. So I'm excited to see it come back. That and then the quest and everything obviously is going to be available year on.
Yeah, you guys want to jump into the quest here? Just a quick run through of it.
Let's do it.
The thing that struck me about this is that this goes back directly to some of those early Christmas content pieces we were talking about. The one that always pops into my mind is 2005 as being the gold standard for that. The one with the scarves and marionettes, where you have to go do something quickly and then decorate the tree. This is, in many ways very similar to that, because you got to head on over to Lumbridge, Falador, and Varrock and figure out, what's happened, that, somebody's stolen your decorations, and you got to find them. And after you do that, you redecorate the trees in those 3 cities. And the thing that really jumped out at me, I was just, expecting this to be part of the quest. After you go to Varrock, Lumbridge, and Falador, after the quest is done, the Christmas decorations are still there, and they're only there after you've done the quest. So that was neat to me too, that it's actually environment changing like that. I really enjoyed that.
And they promised the quest will be coming back year after year. Yeah. So they're also effectively promising that those environment changes are seasonally permanent. Which, I talked about that skybox last year and the year before. I want access to that skybox as a normal toggle. I'm so happy.
But I think this is probably the best you're going to get in terms of not being able to set it.
I'm really glad that I have it. And this is one of those where I like that it's not just a fetch quest, right? Like they made us go to the locations and actually find those imps, but they didn't make it overly challenging. It's a puzzle, but it's an easy one.
Yeah.
I did this with my roofs on, because if you're a player who plays without roofs on, turn your roofs on and just walk through the regions that they did this in, because there's a lot of stuff on those roofs. They went all out with the lights and the poles and the snow, and everything is just, the environment team went ham on throwing decorations at these places.
I think my favorite is Falador.
Spectacular. Falador is lovely. Honestly, they all look good to me. That's the thing. They all look just gorgeous. So,
and see, this is what I had been wanting since 2005 from a Christmas event in game. So it scratches that itch for me on this, and
brings the season.
The Grand Exchange in Varrock is like that too. So hey, that's another reason to use that instead of the max guild. And what we'll also say is that these lights are also using the new lighting tech that came out a year and a bit ago that we really hadn't seen much in the existing part of the world too. So really good work done by the environment team on this. And you and I were talking about this, that there's probably some tech that they have now where they can just plug and play various aspects to change environments on the fly.
Decorations are just items
for people. And what that opens up is, I think, very interesting. And of course, it might be more complicated than we're giving them credit for, but the question is, how much would they do this if there was a huge substantial time investment that would have prevented.
I mean, the environment
happening.
team has been going absolutely ham lately, redoing the entire game to be cohesive, and they've been getting better and better. It looks gorgeous. I can't say it enough. The new hub, all those changes that they made, I mean, all the recent changes, they've been good. And yeah, no, regardless of how they're doing it and how they're setting it up to make it easier for themselves, the work shows it looks good. So,
yeah,
pleased.
Did you have anything? I know you put a link to the transcript in the notes. Is there anything you wanted to talk about dialogue from the quest?
I mean, the second part of the quest, right? So you decorate all these areas, and then you go and you deliver presents to people to kind of bring the cheer. I love this dialogue. This to me is like, there was a simple puzzle part of the quest, and then there was this is so much of the funny, weird dialogue. So each of those 16 NPCs you can deliver presents to, both as a daily and during the quest. They have 2 dialogue options. They have a nice gift that they get and a naughty gift that they get. So if you went up to somebody, like, I went up to Hans and I gave him, spoilers, a piece of coal. Apparently. And I'm like, oh, that's an awful gift. Why would you put that as a... No, there's 2. He has 2 things, and the naughty one is just a random piece of coal. Like, they've all got something. I went up and I gave Virago a Vitalis pet, the rarest thing that he drops, apparently. Like, they're funny to me, and they're funny in context. Like,
I want to go see Zuck now.
Well, because, again, the transcript's there. Somebody wants to spoil it for themselves. But it's... The Zook ones are funny. They're fine. They're a little sassy, of course, but like it's that comedy rating was there for it, and it made me really happy. Like I have really enjoyed handing out these presents to people, and seeing these responses. So yeah, that's it. I just think it's really well done.
Yeah, and
there's a daily that gives extra wrapping paper. Cool.
Right. Of course, that's also something to do if you're going for the purple Santa hat, which does come from the wrapping paper later.
Or it might be
Hunter.
Spirit. I can't remember if it's 200 Spirit or 200 wrapping paper.
Oh, okay.
It's one of the 2.
So, speaking of wrapping paper,
yes,
has anyone felt that has been toned down a little bit?
You still get 100 from every key.
I've been just doing dailies and the Vorkath event, and I have over 12,000 on my main and 9,400 on my alt.
So it's all about the dailies then. Okay.
That and just time spent in the game, correct? Because you get a certain amount of it for AFKing. Are you not getting a lot for your whatever you're doing?
I mean, I'm doing well. I haven't broke 10K yet, and I've gotten a couple treasure hunter drops of it, and I've been playing an hour or 2 daily. So I was just
that sounds right.
Yeah, I was just curious.
You haven't hit 10K yet. It's been 3 days, damn it.
Yeah.
I know.
4 days. I mean,
he's worried about what's going to happen if I pull another soul die kind of thing like happen there when I hand it.
I will say I did get the first. So there's big drops that come from the wrapping paper, right? Like if we're talking about the wrapping paper, we should talk about.
Yeah, let's talk. We can talk about the wrapping paper since we kind of went there naturally.
It drops a hat and scarf, one of the 6 you need, from specifically blue presents. There's like a transmog override to turn you into Colington Embers for reasons from the purple presents and things. And then from at least, I don't think all of them have a chance to give them, there's the overhead emotes.
Which I am so glad to see that they're using that reward space again.
Me too, although I will say I don't love all of these. Like I think maybe they're pretty... I guess, but like the different colored Santa hats and party hats, like what are you emoting for this? Why is this an emote? Like you just get to haha, look at me, purple party hat emote.
Maybe.
Like I don't.
So I don't. What I'm thinking about, it's all I want is this purple party hat. It's just I want it so bad. Or if we had a casino, it could have been like a flashing advertisement, like
Look again, like so I don't know. The imp faces that are the emotions, those are the one that's like blowing a kiss or like looking like he's been up to mischief. Like those I could use. Those are like like contextually, if I'm having a conversation with a person, I could throw one of those up and it would make sense. Versus randomly just, hey, look, purple Santa hat. But I love the little imp ones. Those make me happy. And I saw the first of them is available today from the
from the Advent calendar.
Make sure you get your free key from day 0. Press that left key a bunch until Mod Campfire yells at you. PSA.
Also, and while we're on the subject of wrapping paper, in addition to the usual white, blue, purple, and gold present wrapping papers, there's something called, I think it's a Santa's present in addition to that. What do we know where you get that? Nope. Those presents from?
Presumably it's just rare.
Or maybe that's from opening the actual.
It's got a fun name.
Opening the actual boxes when they arrive, because I know there was a discussion.
Oh, on Sunday?
No, after December 25th, you're going to be able to open up. It says there's a Christmas.
Oh,
present. So maybe that's where those Santa's.
Yeah, there's
Christmas
a giant present.
Comes from.
Don't think it's
unsure. Right next to the Secret Santa, the not so Secret Santa little Yeti guy. There's the giant present that we can open on the week after Christmas. You can see it in game. You can click it now. It'll tell you no, not yet.
Yeah, but I do want to highlight. I do want to highlight there that inside that Santa's Christmas present box, they're going to be including a lot of the cosmetic overrides for abilities that were in Treasure Hunter, as well as a lot of the teleport token overrides and whatnot. Lucky Spirit Shields, 10 mil. The
is it random? Is it a random table that it pulls from? I thought it was going to be the same gift for everybody. It sounded like.
And see, that's what I don't know. I'm trying to figure out.
Are you talking about the Santa presents? What are you talking about right now, Shane?
So if you go to Noel by the place where you hand in your daily things,
the one who gives the wrapping paper presents,
and you see Santa's Christmas present, and you click info on that. There's that entire different table there from the white, blue.
Oh no,
purple.
Yeah, this is just a rare present from wrapping paper, Shane.
Oh, okay.
This is just it's a rarest tier of wrapping paper.
Oh, so they added in addition to the gold then.
One.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Or instead of, I don't know, but yeah.
Okay. I thought maybe we could only get those past the 25th or something.
No. I don't. If so, then no, that wouldn't make any sense because they would have told us to save our wrapping paper. Like, there's no.
Okay.
I don't believe so.
Also, for anybody who wants to, you can buy a wrapping paper override not a wrapping paper override, a wrapping paper booster for 1 bond. That'll double the amount of wrapping paper you get.
Yeah.
So maybe that kind of goes into what Tanis was feeling. I don't know, but I feel like I'm on track for where I would normally be with this given past years.
Yeah, it's a question of like what I'm gonna get out of it, and it doesn't seem like that is worth the bond to me.
Yeah,
I mean, it's nice if you really like buying into the rolling the dice and you like the presents and stuff.
There's better things to spend wrapping paper on these years.
Mm-hmm. Well, like I say, I've been turning my wrapper paper in daily.
Okay.
And I got the hat and scarf set today, out of presents. So again, 4 days in.
Then the other one.
They might be super rare. I might be lucky, but
no. I feel
starting thing says
okay because they come from blue.
Yeah. And I'm not playing a terrible amount. I've really just been logging on for dailies. I'm turning in about 1,500 paper a day.
Okay.
So,
okay.
8 or 9 presents.
So with that, I think we can talk about the activities there, and just like the crater that you were talking about, Tanis. There's 5 different skilling things. Well, 4 different skilling things you can do there. There's the decoration making, ice fishing, snowball crafting, the snow implings, and of course, running around and gifting presents
your daily
each and every day. So, token. I don't know if I want to say token XP, but it's not too much.
You can say token XP. Look, you don't do this for XP, but you're doing it for the Christmas cheer.
Spirit.
Or spirit,
Because the fishing is slightly worse than fly fishing for trout and salmon.
Okay.
It gives similar XP, which is it's fine, It's not competitive at the end game, but it's fine for like free to play. It's probably actually pretty good.
On crafting, I'm pulling about 40k an
Yeah,
hour.
the crafting one really, because the crafting is the only one that's fully AFKable. So that's the difference. Is the crafting is you stand there with your pile of snowballs, you click it once, and you walk away, and you come back 10 minutes later and you click it again. And it gives you the XP rate that comes along with that. Like, my guess.
And you get snowballs, which I plan to see how many things I can kill with them, because they're classified as I mean, they're 30. They're T30 ranged.
T30?
Yeah.
Wait, I thought those were only. I thought that you could only throw them at players.
Oh, I don't know, but it says ranged and 30, level 30. So I was like, shit.
I gotta be careful on the skill pair then, because that's where I've been doing most of my running around in the Christmas hub.
Quick reminder: you can mass Vorkath. Can we snowball down Vorkath with a mass?
That'd be awesome.
Can we please? I want to do it now.
What about a Greco snowball?
Again, I don't want to think about it.
That's a snowball with a rock on the inside.
Yeah, ice chunks flying everywhere. Perfect.
That sounds fun, specifically for people you don't like.
Well, I don't think it does damage to other players, Shane. I think it helps other players any other snowball.
Okay, you guys obviously don't have enough experience in the cold winter. Then you make a snowball, you dip it in water, you come back an hour later.
Oh yeah, that's got to be a bad time.
You mischief. It is noticeable that they are stackable. I haven't gotten out my snow globe item. Because those snowballs didn't used to be stackable, which used to be a real pain to get rid of them, because they weren't notable. So if you had a bunch in your bank, you had to withdraw them and destroy them one by one, if you wanted to free that bank slot. I wonder if they retroactively made the snow globe give you stackable snowballs or something. I should check.
Yeah,
that'd be a nice change.
But also, let's just comment briefly on the environment here about how this is what we saw in Violet is Blue, and this is just taking it one step further and in effect building a nice Christmas environment that we can all just share and run through.
They're extending the land of snow. It looks gorgeous. They've made extra space, and I like that it's like a little bowl. It's like an actual, like a valley kind of thing. So it's like, I don't know if you've noticed, but the edges of it all aim upwards, so you can see. Like there's no horizon line. You just have the bowl of it, unless your camera's really down low.
Okay. I figured that out.
Yeah.
Ironically enough, yeah, it was way too bright for me. Right, like it was super white and I couldn't see anything. Yeah, I kind of. The quest was quite interesting in the beginning because of that.
Have you tried turning the worm different filter on while you've been here? I don't know if
that's what I had to do. I did dust,
because the worm filter really washes it out.
Yeah, so yeah, that was exactly what I had to do, because I had to kind of gray it up, darken it up a little bit. Yep, absolutely.
I also feel like this is a map, in terms of the map, that one that really makes use of altitude changes with this, and that there's the part where you do the skilling activities is lower than the part where you hand in your presents. And if you pan the camera down, it looks as though that's off in the horizon, but lo and behold, if you actually move your way over there, you realize that yes, this is actually a playable environment with depth in it, which is not something we see too often in RuneScape. So, very well done on that.
Space for future stuff, and I will also comment the music in the hub. I love the music in the hub. They did a really good job. We probably don't shout out the music team enough, and I have been playing with the music on it because it's lovely and calming and really good background noise for. Unless I've got something specifically else that I'm watching or playing in the background, it's been really nice just to have while I'm if I'm putzing around doing chores, taking care of whatever, and I'm AFKing something, I've been actually leaving the music on. I oftentimes don't, which I probably should fix, but regardless, the music in the hub, really good. The Christmas Spirit, I think, is the soundtrack for it, is the name of it.
Yeah.
It's good.
And, I always feel concerned when Christmas time comes and I have to ask, is there going to be, Scape Santa on the login screen this year? And, obviously that one is very old. They reworked it and such. But this one, I feel is just a nice fit and replacement for that. Obviously that one's a traditional, but Scape Santa itself, the Christmas spirit is very nice too. So there's that.
It's well done.
We also got Secret Santa going on this year again.
I think you should talk about Secret Santa, Shane.
270 mil day one.
Yeah, of course.
And then a Jaws of the Abyss the day after.
Mm-hmm. I mean, yeah, that tracks.
Tennis?
I got some Calquat fruit and a Jack-o'-lantern and an O-lantern title scroll. I'm not going to pick any more out. I'm good.
Got 2 grapes. And a U-frame. Mm-hmm.
So Shane, that Shane Luckrell working for you, huh?
And I'm giving it back too. I'm giving back some of my necromancy.
I know
my necromancy produce. I'm giving back some of my herbs. I'm giving back some of my farm produce and whatnot. So I'm making sure to give back because I know I got lucky there.
I mean, somebody is always going to get lucky. That's the nature of the beast.
Yeah, I think
unless they hand in 80 O-Lantern title scrolls.
I think Up the Irons last year in Clan Quest, or 2 years ago when this was in, got a max cash stack from it.
I've seen a few people get something crazy, yeah.
So,
lucky.
I mean, hey, if you have mobile, you can go check every 2 hours. If you really, really wanted to. Or you can, just, do it daily and make your own, yearly donation to it. So, Secret Santa, yes. Okay.
Before we move too far on from the hub, I wanted to also mention the home teleport. It's unique because it's a fast teleport at all times. It does not use fast teleport charges. And I believe it cancels damage. So it uses the home teleports menu, but I don't think it's actually classed as a home teleport, interestingly. If it is, it's different in some ways, in addition to the animation looking nice.
So I was wondering if we're able to get that animation anywhere.
That'd be nice. I don't know.
Yeah. Because I haven't seen anything on that. So, and they did say, and I didn't put this in the notes, they did say to check the Advent, because they refreshed the Advent calendar this year, so it's not just going to always be the same stuff that's coming out of the treasure hunter table.
Right.
So
no, I mean, day one was an emote. That was nice. And they did say one of the hats and scarves. Good PSA too. If you want the recolorable hat and scarf, which we should talk about.
Yeah.
You have to open the 15 days on the day. So if you're going to be gone for like the second, for the Christmas time, whatever, make sure for the start of the month, you're opening the Advent calendar every day.
Yeah, Earth wanted to be on the show this week, but he said no scarf, no show. He was under the impression he could maybe get the Omni scarf this week, but he didn't want to come on the show until he got his Omni scarf. So
when they announced the Omni scarf, they said you can't get it until week 3.
I know.
What do you mean?
I know. He really freaking wanted it. But
he's gonna get it.
I know. So 2 of them are just given on the 11th and 25th, I think, is when they're giving those out.
So the way that the weekly rewards are working for the Santa's Lodge weeklies,
11th, 25th.
They give you the unlock for that week and all weeks prior. So, like, if you just turned in one nice list entry, 3 letters on the last week, you would unlock both of the hat and scarf sets and the peppermint outfit, and all of the rewards from Santa's Lodge from the weeklies are given retroactively as on the following weeks. So
that's a good way. That's a good way of doing it.
That Omni Scarf is effectively, did you log in for 15 days during this month? Like, that's the big one. If you're doing your dailies, you'll get it from the blue presents. You'll get enough wrapping paper for it.
Yeah, really nice model, really nice on the hat and the scarf, and infinite recolorable to your heart's content, whatever you want it to be.
HSL recolorable, which is so we've had 2 sets of outfits from the past, right? We had the workaday outfits that were the basic ones, and we had the courier outfit was the original that were many recolors that were basically the whole outfit. It could be the color that you wanted it to be within a, like from a selection. You had a white and a black and a blue and another light blue and those kind of things. These are HSL recolorable like the Max Cape and the Comp Cape. So they store a, like, you can fully set your color values and save presets of color values to them. For both the hat scarf combo, the Omni scarf, when you have all 6 of the hats and scarves, and when you have the peppermint outfit. I don't know how many of these type of things you're going to do, but it's a really cool system to put on outfits. The first time you've ever put things on outfits.
Absolutely. Another one can be purchased for 2,000 Christmas Spirit from the Christmas Spirit shop, which we'll talk about next. One comes from the Quest. Another one is going to be given through the Advent calendar. And then the other one through opening blue Christmas presents, which should be fairly common because I got them, within the first couple days of, just getting a few.
Oh, you have both already? Okay,
yeah, good. So it's not too bad,
It could be Shane-like.
I mean, it could be. Do you have yours yet?
I got the hat.
Okay.
So
okay.
Chances are, yeah, they're relatively common.
Fair enough. And then of course the peppermint outfit too, which you mentioned, which is nice. I don't know that maybe I'll change over to that. I don't know.
It's
nice,
yeah, I'm not the hugest fan of it. It's definitely like a base color outfit. At least the top is fairly basic. The bottom are the striped stockings, which you can. They did say the stripes on the legs are one of the 3 or one of the 4 color panes. So you can recolor the stripes. So if you want the stripes, the legs to be all the same color, you do not have to have them striped. You just set them both to the same color and you're done. The striping on them is optional. So
nice.
That's like, yeah. They thought about that ahead of time, that not everybody wants the stocking foot look.
Alrighty, I'm going to thank some Patreon supporters because we talked a bit about that with the experienced tier. We talked a bit about that with the holiday monthly bit from last year. So this week I'd like to thank Alvaro L, Amos Reed, Andrew C, Arvid L, Chulbura, Dominic R, Drama Free, Duramax, Free Milk, Jacob G, Jay Gizmo, Jason S, Jeebus, Jesse W, Kesky, Ling01, Nate the Great, Nick G, Pernasius, Renhawk, Ricky A, Rippeth, Runestar, Samuel FL, Scott DS, Shirt Pants, Tabby, The Naked Captain, The Dabbing Goat, Tim, Tom V, Ukulele Steve, Zant, and Zazakon. Big, huge thank you to all of these people for making what we do here at RSBANDB Update possible. You can check out our offerings at patreon.com/RSBANDB there. You can get access to an entire back catalog of monthly bits or bonus shows for as little as $1 a month. Of course, we have the holiday event special that we talked about a little bit earlier in the podcast. So if you want a retrospective on past holiday events and what that golden era of events was, you can go and listen to that. We also, of course, have the world-famous tier list there. And coming up, we actually know what the next 2 monthly bits are going to be. The next one is RuneScape's graphical future, looking at the graphical vision that's kind of taken place over the past few years. And then the Slayer task, hot or not list, which I felt, I feel like Tanis, the Patreon listeners were winking at us after last month's monthly bit.
Yep, I got you. I got you, Patreons.
So all of that and more for as little as $1.
Talk about the things we do and don't love.
Yeah, all of that and more for as little as $1 a month. We also have the VIP tier for $3 a month, which includes a Discord rank, a chat channel, and a mention on the podcast at the start of the month, plus stereo versions of the show, and of course also the Insider tier, where you get a shout out on the podcast each and every week, and exclusive access to the clips that we use to make the clip show. And going into the mailbox very soon are the Patreon Christmas cards. So if anybody manages to sign up in the next day or two, we might extend that a little bit and send some cards out. So just keep that in mind. There's extras. So patreon.com/RSBNB. Thanks so much, everyone.
Thanks.
All right, where do we go to next for the Christmas event? I feel like maybe the rewards, because that was another thing that people were really looking forward to here, was the fact that extending out the rewards that you get to include past year's rewards, which isn't something that they've done before.
Yeah, they're removing exclusivity from the reward space.
Going back to 2011, right now so far.
They said it was arbitrary, not that they're trying to protect drops from before that. I know that both you and I, Shane, are wearing our 2008 Santa outfits. So I get to feel a little, like, quietly a little happy that I still have that something that feels special. But
and I have the 2006 scarf as well.
Yeah, if they put that out for more, I don't know.
No,
like, that's fine.
No, I wouldn't, because
I like the old school system where everybody gets every holiday reward every holiday. Like, I think that's probably how it should work. As much as I do think it's fun to have something that's exclusive, I if I didn't have it, I would be very upset. Like, I would be very happy for my alt to have those things. That's it. Like, I don't know.
Yeah, that's exactly it. And, I talk to people about these sorts of things, and they always say, I wish I was there when, your scarf came out. I, just missed out just by a little tiny bit on getting the marionette stuff. Is there ever going to be a way to get something like that back in the future? And the answer, was always, I don't know. Whereas now, with this going back to 2011, we know that that's an option going forward. And my answer to, should they do before 2011, prior to 2011? Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely, I think.
I've seen a lot of Sparkles the Tinsel Snakes running around this week, and I loved that holiday event, and I am happy to see him more.
Yeah.
At the end of the day.
And even the Santa title, by the way, was never was one that was locked behind that. So that's something to keep in mind too.
I've used that one every year since they released it. So no longer a special title, but it's one that probably everybody should have access to be honest.
And that's why, looking at this store on my alt, I own practically none of these things. So lots of opportunity for that.
Looking on my main, I was missing one thing. I was missing the Santor Spawning. Apparently I didn't like it enough to get it originally. So there we go.
Yeah.
Purchase that and we're done.
Tannish, are you missing anything from past years? Are you looking for anything?
I'm sure I probably am. I mean, the only holiday items I have a sweater and like a tinsel scarf, but I always rock the Snowverlord. That's the one I like.
Oh yeah.
And
with the snow cape, and then you can bring out your little snowman override on your legendary, and so just a couple snowmen.
That guy's got a fun animation.
A couple of guys hanging out being dudes.
Like it's like, where does the good end for this update? And it just keeps going and going with that. And maybe we're saying that now until we see what the rarity of the Sunday draw for the Black Party hat's gonna be.
I don't care about the Black Party hat.
I was gonna say, like, dude, I'm never gonna get that.
Okay.
That's
a me thing.
That's the thing for the merchers to have their fun with. I don't need it. I don't care. I think party hats look god awful ugly. You wear them for the prestige to say you have money, and I don't care to do that.
Yeah, I want the money.
Shout out to all the people who have them and love them. Like, power to you. The appeal isn't there for me, so I'm not worried about it on Sunday. I'm just going to turn in all my entries. I missed one day because I was an hour off. I forgot the time change affected the reset time. Logged in half hour after reset. Oops. To do my dailies, so I had to go and spend 1,200 spirit buying the previous day letters. Like, I'm going to get all my entries in, but
yeah,
I don't care to get the thing.
Yeah, and I'm partially mainly just going for it because of the collection aspect, right? And just saying that right now, the more important one for me to have over the Black Party hat is the purple Santa hat, and I imagine that will come down quite a lot once that hits Treasure Hunter, because that's the collection that I have, and that's the one I keep going for. But there's part of me that also thinks that it'd be nice to have a black party hat too, just for the meme, the luck meme that everybody likes joking about.
It sounds like it's going to be obscenely rare.
Yeah.
And they said there's not a set number of them coming into the game, so it's not a raffle. That's effectively what they kind of hinted at on the live stream, is that it sounds like every nice list entry you have is a roll on a drop table, a 1 in, I'm making up numbers, 1 in 5,000, whatever it is. So
probably 1 in 500,000. Who knows?
They said that they would tailor the drop rate. They would look at how many came into the game every week, and they would tailor it to say if they think they got it right, but if it turns out that they didn't and they're not pleased with the number of them coming into the game, too many or too little, they will change it. They did say that is something they consider. So.
And they also have pledged to look into make sure that there's no funny business with it, but I don't think there should be, because you need members for it. But maybe there'll be fleets. I don't know, Tanis, fleets of people doing this. Yes. Have you heard anything?
It's fast. It's like 5 minutes to get all 3 letters.
No. I haven't, so I don't know. My guess is no, because this is not something you can do. It's just a chance. It's not the same.
You can't buy it either. That's the other thing. Unlike a lot of the other, like the Santa hats and things, is that this is everybody has the same chance, and it's roll of the dice. It's not a buyable in any way. The people who win the lottery on it literally win the lottery on it.
Yeah.
So
they have to have an idea of kind of what they're looking at, or what they're thinking.
They can measure engagement and then estimate with that how many there's going to be.
Yeah.
They said they wanted it to be like the other party hats, so I expect it to be worth tens of bills. Yeah.
Yeah.
So probably by the time the dust
best
settles,
of luck to everybody out there. Everybody out there who's
Yeah.
putting in their nice points for it. That's what we'll say. All right, so that's the outfits, the hub, the quest, and the other thing that I did want to mention with this is that it didn't gain too much fanfare in the news post or elsewhere, but if you talk to Clementine the Imp, there is a rundown of everything else coming in December, in addition to, of course, the wrapping paper event, the Christmas spirit, and the quest. And starting December 4th, there's going to be free daily challenge extensions. December 11th brings Tier 4 luck for everybody. December 18th brings free aura resets. And December 25th brings safe deaths. And these aren't just for 1 week at a time. They're all going to compound into each other. So there's going to be a safe death week at the end of the month with free auras, with Tier 4 luck, and free daily challenges. Yeah.
Oh, snap.
All the Hazelmere signet rings that we're going to get from that Tier 4 luck. All of them. That's what I've decided. Every one of those Saren spirits that we've always missed, we're going to get them all. They're all going to be Hazelmere signet rings. We're all going to walk away with at least 4 of them. Optimism.
I don't know what you're smoking or eating on there, but okay.
Optimism.
Okay, optimism's the name of the game.
I might have to try some hard mode with some free resets and some free devs.
True. The free aura resets is really solid. Like having 100%
with some drop table changes.
Yeah, really nice.
We might have to get into that.
Yeah, and see
problematic system, but
and that's entirely the thing. Safe deaths plus free auras plus Tier 4 luck, so you don't need to shuffle to that ring. It's a perfect time to learn a boss that you've always wanted to learn.
Mm-hmm.
So,
yep.
I really like that when they do that. So, alrighty. You mentioned drop table changes, Tanis. I'm glad you did that. I'm glad you mentioned that, because we're gonna go there in just a moment. But I do also need to mention the Omen plushie, which for anybody who wants one, you have until December 13th to put in your order on the Makeshift store. As of earlier this week, there was only like 190 of them that were ordered, and only 247 have been requested so far. So, with that, you're going to be getting something that there's going to be less than 500 of in the world when it comes to these plushies, if that kind of thing interests you. And he glows in the dark.
Yeah, that's the real cool thing, is the glow in the dark looks neat. It doesn't glow blue, it glows green. That I know the chemistry on that says it's really hard to make something that glows blue in the dark. I'm just saying. Would have been nice.
Yeah.
But probably wouldn't have held, there's a reason the glow-in-the-dark things are green. The compound holds light.
And I mean, what better way to cap off the necromancy year than with a pet like this, right?
With the pet. He's cute looking. It's nice looking.
But fine print, orders are due to ship in March 2024. Just so everybody knows that going in.
We'll make ship item.
Yeah.
This will be more rare than the pet itself, huh?
You're right. You're right.
There may be fewer of these than there are Black Party hats. Think about it. Think about it.
And it's only $32.99. So
Excellent.
There you go. All right. Changes to Vorkath. These dropped last Friday. I went back for a bit. Yeah.
I went for a bit.
Okay. So, the loot drops aren't quite hitting the mark. Biggest thing. First thing mentioned in the post. So with this, hard mode loot rebalanced to make it feel more rewarding, upping the number of rolls in the loot table from 6 to 8. Also reducing the chance of less valuable loot, such as Bane Stone Spirits, and increasing the chance of receiving more desirable loot, like Blackstone Hearts, and the drop rate of armor upgrade materials has been increased, along with the chance of receiving a codex.
And that, to be clear, all of that is only in hard mode. None of that affects normal mode.
Hard mode only.
Not at all.
Hard mode only. Yeah.
Which is fair. So, I know we talked about it on the show last week, but very briefly, the issue last week, spikes were about 8 mil on release day. They're currently about 7 mil a piece. As of the street price checker about 2 hours ago. Give or take 300k.
No, that's not too bad for a tier 90 piece of armor that can then upgrade to tier 92 the same way with the effects it has.
Making a full set of the armor is about 700 mil right now with just the spikes, just to making the tier 90. Which is not bad.
Oh, I messed up by a factor of 10. That's a lot.
Yeah, no. You need 99 of them to make an armor set. Yeah. It's about 700 mil.
Yeah.
So the thing to note with that is that it does have a set effect, right? So you're not getting a ranged armor with a set effect for less than that. It's the cheapest one. You can get Sirenic for 10 mil. But base Sirenic doesn't have any passive attached to it. But so the way the spikes were dropping, hard mode was guaranteed money loss. You were making about 3 mil an hour, including uniques. So there's not a world. There was no world where you made money in hard mode during release week. There's not a setup you could kill hard mode in that would make you money.
And that's the binary experience with our show last week, is that the show was good and the feedback on the boss was good until we got to the loot.
Yeah, exactly. Boss is still fun. The boss is a very classic RuneScape. One mechanic happens or starts at a time, and you deal with that mechanic. You know that it's coming, and then you move on. Right? You can get the spikes and the Vorkath AoE at the same time, but you deal with them the same way. You roll dodge out. You have one thing you need to be doing at any given time. You're not multitasking. There's not complicated things. So from that aspect, boss still good. Loot still bad. To be honest, my normal mode kills this week, and based on what the normal mode drop table is looking like, if you're using blue blubber jellyfish and or Cerebrus, just base Cerebrus, you're not making money on normal mode either, even with uniques. On current, it's just not the unique. I like the generic drop table on it. To be clear,
and see that's the thing.
Put on there belong there. It's things that we need. And the boss difficulty feels very much slightly around Elder God Wars level difficulty to me, normal mode.
Yeah.
Which is +2, +1, +1, or without killing either of the giants or maybe killing one of them. Difficulty feels about there. Which is fine. The loot, again, fine. I don't know how much money you're making at those places right now either, to be fair. Although with uniques, a lot of their uniques are still worth
pages are pretty expensive these days.
Well, and I have a note later on for this too, but it's funny to note that with the changes to the ranged armors last week, they doubled, almost tripled the street price of elite or ancient scales. Whatever the scales are, I'm losing it. That drop from the Elite Dungeon 1. Yeah. So Elite Dungeon 1... No, Sirenic Scales makes Sirenic.
Okay.
That's the other one. I think it's Ancient. Regardless, but the Tier 92 ranged upgrade that you get from Elite Dungeon 1 went up in price, and so Elite Dungeon 1 was cracked money the last week. Because it's like people have needed that to make the Tier 92 armor. You're earning that. Upgrading the armors to Tier 92 from Tier 90 is more money. That costs more than either of the armors do, including the armor that released the week.
So we should almost kind of think of this in the same way as we think of the matriarchs.
Oh, where they made the Dragonoth Kings really expensive and they themselves were fine. Yeah, it's a similar kind of an issue.
Yeah.
I don't necessarily know how you fix that, and I think it will go back down over time. But Elite Dungeon 1, I think for a while, because there's not a lot of people who are just farming it, right? I think that's going to be expensive for a while. I think that's going to be worth, like, especially if you can solo it, because a solo gives you more scales. Like, that's going to be money for a while.
Aren't they they're just monster drops, though, aren't they?
Sirenic scales are, but ancient scales only drop from Seiryu.
Oh.
I think they can maybe drop from the, like, if you've got the lucky charms on you, I think you've got a chance of dropping small numbers of them. But the solo drop table, you can get up to like 60 at a time. Solo has a more generous drop table than trios, unfortunately. You can do trios a lot faster, so it's actually not that bad to do duo or trio. But
yeah.
Yeah.
And see that's the thing with this boss is that when it comes to the loot in effect is setting the taste everybody has in their mouths.
Yeah.
Regarding this, and anything, how great the mechanics might be going in terms of, the various pylons that you need to disrupt and whatnot. Because that was one of the requested points is that normal mode requires you to complete one place of power with this, and they said that they want people who are having the goal of fast tracking getting to the boss to have an incentive to push themselves into hard mode for that, so they're not changing it, which is one of the things we saw last week. No,
the hard mode loot's still not great, but it is like it's much better. It's much better now. If you're doing the boss and you can do hard mode, you should. If you just need to get a Reaper done, normal mode is great for you. That's what it is effectively right now for me. Like that's how I'm seeing it and using it, and that's fine. Yeah. I don't have an issue with that.
Yeah, they also changed the buy limit for the spikes on the GE from 10 to 100, which makes sense because you need that many to make them.
If you want to make an armor set, you can now do it in whenever you want instead of having to wait 36 hours for the spikes to buy. Good job.
The grouping system wasn't working previously with this.
Good job. Cool. That system needs an overhaul anyways, but good job.
Yeah, that's a topic for another day. It really does. It really does. Made a small tweak to the zonal ice breath attack, so it's now possible to dodge by stepping into a previously targeted area at the right moment.
Mm-hmm.
And that same breath attack will no longer damage familiars if you manage to escape the attack yourself. So
I haven't had Vorkath, so I did the quest on Monday after the changes, and I haven't had a familiar die yet to Vorkath. I had one die to one of the giants. I had a familiar straight up died. Yeah, because it got aggro. I mean, I'm not using a Bob. I'm using a damage familiar, and it stole aggro of the giant from me, and I didn't notice in time to provoke it back.
Oh God.
And so I straight up killed my familiar and sent the scrolls from it back to the bank. Oops.
That's funny.
Before I got into the fight, and that was during one of my +2 runs. So I ended up doing it with all the mechanics active. No familiar. It was very sad. You could feel the difference. It was a little wild. But
Ripper, I assume?
No, actually, I think that was the Steel Titan. It was either Steel Titan or a Rune Minotaur. I've been cheap this week. Again, I didn't want to spend a lot of money on the boss. I wouldn't be using Ripper Scrolls on it because I wouldn't make the money back.
Fair enough.
So, yeah, no.
I went back a bit this week and, just to, do an hour of between normal and whatnot. I did normal without the like you said, the +2s, so you have the mechanics in there. It's fine. And I guess the next logical step with that is hard mode.
Yeah,
so.
We'll do it. We should go in and do it. We should get a group of people together and go try that sometime. I hear that it's when you've got multiple people, hard mode becomes a lot simpler because you have one person tank the boss, one person tank Zemo.
Yeah, that's what Ferris was saying last week. He wanted to do too, but we just didn't get around to it this week because of that thing that starts with an L.
Yeah, well, we'll talk about that in what we've been up to this week. I've been having a lot of fun.
Yeah, we can talk about that.
Forecast.
Okay. Tanis, any comments on Vorkath before we let Daxi loose here on the armors?
No, let's go ahead and release him. I won't be seeing Vorkath until we get our free Def Week with our resets and all that.
All right.
Yeah.
So where do you want to start with this? Because you wanted to fill in some gaps on the armors.
So to be clear for the listener folks, I messaged Shane last Wednesday that I wanted to be on the show this week. And then it's also a happy accident that I think that there's some things just to touch on more with especially the ranged armors that were just follow-ups.
Which is your wheelhouse, by the way. Ranged main before necromancy.
True. Still the only style I have decent gear in right now anyways. But yeah, ranged is definitely my home. It's my first 120 in combat, and it's like way far above the others. It's what I use for almost all my bossing. Through the mage meta, I made the mistake of continuing to range. Still think Blightbounds are the prettiest weapons in the game. That's personal. Anyways, doesn't matter. Whole thing. So, just some general notes following on updates from our coverage last week. We weren't quite sure when we talked about it on the show about like what the effect of the Elite Sirenic armor was. And so I did some testing with it this week now that it's live. And it's not a, so when we talked about it, we weren't sure if it like replaced the like chance to activate a bolt or if it added to it when you were wearing those. It's passively active, so that seems to be, as far as I can tell, a 12% chance to activate. If you're wearing 2 pieces, you're guaranteed to get a Dragonstone bolt proc. If you're wearing 3 pieces, you get one of the 3 bolts that are listed, the Onyx, Hydrix, or Dragonstone procs, and it seems to be random which one it chooses. But even if you're using basic like Blight bolts or Ascension bolts that don't have an effect on them, I was able to get all of those things to proc the heal from the Onyx bolts and like the extra adrenaline gain from the Hydrix bolt tips. Even using base ammo.
You can do it without having those bolts attached to you.
Yeah, at all. No, not even a little. So, it sounds like it's just a 4% on-hit chance to activate
that's the
like
thing.
a Hydrix bolt proc.
Right, that's the thing we thought, is that maybe this is just increasing the chances of firing off those ones if you're using them, but...
And from testing it, it seems like it stacks with other bolt effects, so it seems like it's just a fully separate roll. So like if I'm using Ruby bolts, I could proc a Ruby bolt and a Hydrix bolt on the same tick. Given it's a 1 in 7 or 1 in 15 for the Ruby bolt to activate, it's a 1 in 7 chance for the Ruby to activate, and then it's a 1 in 25 chance for the Hydrix bolt effect. But it's like they seem to roll separately and additively, so you can get both. So it's just an extra 1 in 8 chance every time you hit something with a ranged single damage ability that's not damage over time, you have a chance to activate one of those 3 bolt effects.
So this means,
which is nice. It's strong.
This means if you're a crossbow user, it's something you definitely want to learn to.
It's a pretty hefty buff to crossbows just in general. And it's especially nice for stuff like Slayer, where you can get the effects of those expensive bolts without having to actually use them.
Like if we're using our friend the Emerald bolts.
Right. Which, to be fair...
Would you be using Elite Sirenic on a Slayer task?
The problem is the repair cost on it has gone up significantly because the repair patches that use those same ancient scales that are tripled in price because they're used for making Dracolich armor.
Yeah.
Unfortunately. But that will come back down. And if you've already got a handful of the repair patches made, then... you can just keep using it. It's worth it. So that's neat. That's nice. If you have the money lying around, you want it. If you're using crossbows still, if you think the Blightbounds are the prettiest thing in the game, I'm very happy to have my Elite Sirenic ready to go. That's it. And then the Dracolich. We talked about it on the show, and we kind of just we glanced over, I think, a little bit the armor set itself. And again, the effect on it is that it increases your critical chance for X number of seconds, effectively 1, 2, or 3 abilities, depending on how many pieces of it you're wearing. It raises your critical chance by 20% for the tier 90 or 40% for the tier 92 armor. And the thing that is the secondary discussion here is what that actually means on live, because we know how the new system works. But on live, there's currently 3 different types of critical hits. There's 3 different systems for it. There's the necromancy one, which
I just want to press pause on that, which is just a downright confusing way to do it.
It's crazy. But it's ridiculous that that's a thing. I mean, the necromancy and the combat beta both use what you expect to happen, which is when you roll whatever your chance is to crit, you get the damage. Your damage, whatever you rolled, whatever number it was in your damage range, if you rolled, the lowest part of your damage range, so if you roll the highest, you get 75% extra of whatever your damage is, or 60%, or whatever your multiplier is. You get that
which is the logical way. Which is the logical way to do crits.
Simple, the way that it probably ought to work. Generally speaking, on the beta and for necromancy, that's going to result in, again, about 60% extra damage per crit, which means every percent of crit chance is worth about 0.6 to 0.8, percent of extra damage. So if you add on 3% crit chance, you do 2.2% extra damage overall. That's just what you add. Or if you add
and for people unaware, that's going from tier 90 to tier 92.
Yeah, 2% extra damage is what you get off a tier 99 prayer upgrade or a tier 92 armor upgrade. It's 2% is RuneScape doesn't have big numbers a lot of the time, and so the 2% adds up. So things that that's just worth noting that crit chance does matter for those things. And then there's the other 2 types of crit which are used for magic melee range right now, which is very simply you have a natural crit and a forced crit. Natural crits, if you roll in the top 5% of your possible damage, you get 20% extra damage. It works the way that you expect it to. Very simple. That's the system. Great. The forced criticals are all of your crit chance buffs. So the biting perk, the Erethror's Grimoire, the rings from the Rex Matriarchs, and now these armor set, this Dracolich armor set. Right? Anything like that. And those are forced criticals. So those roll a completely separate number from your basic critical chance. And these force criticals, whatever your damage roll was going to be in your range, it forces it to the top of your damage range, so the top 5% of your damage range, and then it gives it an extra 20% on top of that. So if I was using a basic ability that scaled from 20% to 100% damage, the average damage is 60%, right, halfway, right in the middle. If I rolled that average damage number, but I rolled a forced critical chance, instead of giving me 60%, it would bump me up to 95 to 100%, and then it would add 20%, which means that I'm hitting 115 to 120% of my damage on an attack that should have hit 60%, which is to say that for that attack, it does double damage when you crit with a force critical. Not 20% extra, 100% extra damage.
Which is massive crazy when you think about it.
Yeah.
And that's why Elite Dracolich, correct me if I'm wrong, becomes something to jump up and down about, maybe.
Maybe. The counterpoint to this is that if that ability only scaled from 50 to 70% damage and I rolled a 60, if it had a smaller window, that only forces it up to a 70%, which then does 84% damage, whatever the number is, give or take.
Got it.
And so that from 60 to 84 is a much smaller jump. And so for abilities with a smaller damage range, it might be 50% extra damage. For abilities with a bigger damage range, it might be more. So for things like the Saren Godbow, that has a very large damage range. It hits from very small to very big many times. This is massive. If you crit on a Saren Godbow with this active, which is a 40% extra chance to happen with the armor, and it affects bows, so congratulations, it works even if you don't have the thing in an amulet. You're hitting crazy numbers. Same thing with the proc effect from the Bow of the Last Guardian. That's got a pretty big damage range on it, if I remember correctly. So you could time the stacks from your bow with the Last Guardian to go off when you hit rapid fire, and then you drop a Terran Godbow and like a Dark Bow or a Snapshot afterwards in this like 3 GCD window you have, and they just all hit like trucks because you've got effectively 40% extra damage on all of them.
Which I feel like this is out of the moving ranged kind of into that necromancy window of being able to hit big numbers.
40% extra damage, even for like a third window. If you can time a burst window into that, like that's huge. That's a huge damage buff.
And this will be better. This will be better if we get the necromancy crit system on ranged, right?
It'll be about to be honest, it'll probably be about the same. It'll be worse for abilities that have a big damage range, and it'll be better for abilities that have a small damage range.
Okay.
So, meh. I think it kind of rolls out to be the same. The crit changes don't actually do as much on live because of the way that force criticals push your damage into the upper part of the range.
So which one of these?
It's really good armor.
Yeah. So which one of these are you more excited about then? The Sirenic or the Dracolich?
I think the Dracolich is more powerful. I think the effect is much more powerful. The Sirenic is neat. It's just a 1 in 8 chance to hit an extra bolt proc, which is a nice little buff, but it's like that's in the probably single-digit percentiles. Dracolich, if you use it right, every 20 seconds you can effectively have like a 20 or 30% uptime on this, depending on what else you're wearing. Having a damage buff that is, depending on the ability, 30 to 40%. That's pretty big. That's a pretty big buff if you can time your burst.
And this just also leans into like that specialist angle that ranged has been going for since Bow the Last Guardian came out then as well. So
yeah, it's watching your stacks and timing things has become more of, and like range used to be how many times can you hit your target in a minute, and now it's more like it's still that kind of, but it's moved away from that a little bit with the move away from bolts into like crossbows are still how many times can you hit your target in a minute. Bows are much more how well can you time things. It's like when we talked about Wen Arrow in the coverage. It's like if you can work out how to use these in a rotation, you are a god, and you can do so much damage.
And
you know, like you have to really think about it.
Like for me, and I think for you guys, I don't want to go to that level of microing with RuneScape.
I think a lot of people do want to, though, right? With the number of bowl users I see around. So and it is strong. The armor is really strong. I think it's being a little slept on. I think people don't quite realize how big that crit buff is.
Yeah. Okay.
So that is what it is.
Nice.
Big power creep.
Tanis, any questions? I feel like I want to dust off my rage set, but I don't.
No, I mean,
micro this week. I've been having fun with it.
If anything, my takeaway from this is, I thought if I had to get something or want something, it would have been the Dracolich, because I tend to use bows more if I'm doing range. And it sounds to me like nope, bolts are probably.
But even then, like, isn't the rapid fire adrenaline gain something that can help us too with the bows, since we don't have the Hydrix bolts?
I think. Are you thinking of incendiary shot? Maybe.
No. With at least one piece worn, channeling rapid fire generates an additional 0.5 adrenaline per piece worn every 0.6 seconds. That's.
I mean, it still costs adrenaline to use rapid fire, but yeah.
Okay, so it's not gonna. It's not anywhere as good as Hydrix.
Rapid fire channels, if memory serves, 4.8 seconds, I think, or 5.4.
Yeah, I know.
One thing. Cancel it.
One thing Bears was saying is that this is the reason for people to not cancel rapid fire early. Maybe.
Yeah. So I don't know exactly what he was talking about with that. I know he doesn't range a whole lot. The rapid fire hits every tick while it's active. Or every 2 ticks, and so the only time you cancel it is the last tick. You skip the last tick of rapid fire, which I'm just gonna double check because I have the game open.
Yeah, do that.
But I'm fairly certain rapid fire. Yeah, 4.8 seconds. So rapid fire is a channeled ability. It lasts for 4.8 seconds. You get 8 hits, so it's 1 hit every tick. So the canceling it early doesn't give you any extra benefit for the ability, other than you generate more adrenaline by canceling it after 1 GCD. So if you were looking to build adrenaline for a combo, you would cancel it immediately. And if you weren't looking to, you're going to get the most like damage out of the ability by just letting it channel for the full 4.8. If you don't activate another ability afterwards, if you're using it on Revolution, it'll waste a tick afterwards. So you want to activate your next ability as soon as the channel is done.
Right. What about using this for just the regular Dracolich and not the Elite Dracolich? Because the set effect is the same. It's just
it's the same
20
set effect.
instead of 40. Yeah.
It's half as strong. I still think that's a strong buff. Like, I think if you are a person who uses bows and you can invest, it is so. You have it basically the way things are right now. You have a choice when when you're sitting at tier 90 range armor, you buy Sirenic because it's 10 mil. While you're using up your Sirenic, which I guess it doesn't degrade to dust anymore, so maybe it doesn't matter. But you have a choice of if you wanted to go range to go bows or crossbows based on like whatever you're going to buy first, right? If you're more interested in both Last Guardian or a Saren Godbow as a primary weapon, you would go towards Dracolich, and you just buy the base tier 90. And if you wanted to go towards crossbows, you would just buy the Elite Sirenic.
Right.
They're both going to be within the same kind of a price range, right now at least. The Elite Sirenic is going to be a little more expensive, but only temporarily while Ancient Scales are really being farmed like mad. Or not being farmed, being used like mad. And like, so you have a choice. And they're both reasonable. Both of them are going to give you a buff that's about the same size. I think currently meta is probably both Last Guardian with the Elite Dracolich. But if you're just building towards one, either is going to work just fine, and they're going to give you probably a buff that's about the same.
Yeah. And
to Dennis's point, I think it's worth noting that like you can have Revolution with this, and it'll still do work. Like especially if you like, even if you just pull Rapid Fire off of your Revolution rotation, and you just have the one button for Rapid Fire, and you hit that button, and then you like count to 5 in your head, and you just hit a button for either an Essence of Finality to get a Dark Bow special out, or just your Snapshot button even afterwards. You just time your burst, because they have the same 20-second cooldown. You're going to get good damage out of the armor effect being active, even in like 4 pieces of the armor. Because it's worth noting that Fleeting Boots, the ranged ability altering boots, also impact Rapid Fire, so you can't use them as a switch.
Right.
So in that case, you'd only have 2 GCDs of the Dracolich active if you chose to go with Fleeting Boots, so you could move. Or if you were in a place where you could use Cinderbanes, you'd only have 1 GCD after the thing is active, because you had Cinderbanes and Fleet Song. So like totally reasonable to just wear 3 or 4 pieces of the armor.
And I'm just sitting here in my head questioning then. I have Necromancy, tier 95. This sounds so fun. Maybe it's something I need to look back into doing again.
Yeah. Yeah. Also worth noting, just the thing that I wanted to mention on the Elite Sirenic effect. Dragonstone bolts are the only bolt effect that count as a ranged damage hit. They're actually a secondary hit when the bolt proc actives, which means it's a second hit chance to activate poisons. So if you're wearing Cinderbane gloves or a poisonable target, that's actually, it's even more valuable. You get extra value out of it.
I have actually been thinking, and I know crossbows aren't the meta, I have actually been thinking of picking up a pair of blights.
They're cheap.
Yeah.
They're like under 100 mil, I think. Like it's crazy how much they've fallen. Just because everybody's farming Grimoire pages.
Yeah.
Off of Big Tree Boy.
Alrighty, well that pretty much brings us to the end of our RuneScape news this week. I think we got everything. This is one of those weeks, Tanis, I did mention this to you earlier, where it felt like I was missing something when I was doing the show, and maybe
so much going on.
Maybe a few hours later, I'll remember and realize we missed something big this week. But nonetheless, it is what it is. We do have some achievements this week. Starting off, Barizi got 99 crafting on the 29th. Cyan Paneer got 99 divination on the 28th. Elder Onyx got 120 necromancy also on the 28th. And Skips got 200 million fletching on the 28th.
Then on the 27th, we had Mej Quest with 99 necromancy. And on the 26th, we had Cyan Paneer with 99 agility. And on November 25th, we had Lord Zorik with 99 constitution.
All right, then we have Cyan PR with 99 Necromancy on the 24th. We have Seabreeze 24 with 99 necromancy, also on the 24th, and we have Taffin Spy with 99 necromancy on the 24th. It's still happening, still getting those 99 necromancies.
Yeah, it's going to be happening for a while as the way the skill ball bounces, but very well. Good job, everybody. Pick of the week time.
Pick of the week. I promised cozy picks for the end of the year, and we are continuing the trend. This is a game I've been watching for a little over a year, as it's been in early access for a couple of years now. It's technically a sequel, but it has only very oblique references to the prequel, the other game in the series. And that's My Time at Sandrock. Very much, it's a management sim. I would call it very similar to Stardew Valley in terms of there's a little mining mini game, there's a little fishing mini game. Your central thing is based around a workshop instead of a farm, and your workshop is producing all these things to fill effectively contracts that you pick up every day from the local townspeople. And there's a really nice central story. It actually has a main plot line that goes through that is you restoring and dealing with a bunch of issues around this desert town that you're living in. The graphics on it are nice. The controls on it work fairly easily. The camera's it works. It works well.
I see a character creator.
The character creator is pretty robust. It's not overwhelming, and it's hard to make a terrible looking character if you wanted to just randomize it and not have to deal with it, but it does have a fairly robust character creator. And yeah, no, it's very much you get to meet and build relationships with town people, like your Stardew Valley kind of thing. It's just well done. I have played through the entire story both in beta and since launch.
And it's actually out now, November 2nd.
It's out now. So. Yeah, it released this past month in its full release, so it's out and patched. They've patched a couple of the issues, and in the last 3 months, they finally released they completely updated the visuals on it, so that the lighting and graphics actually work a little better. And it looks great. I'm just really pleased with how it's come out. So
yeah, the graphics actually look really nice in terms of just pushing a style. It's like that evolution of the Wii/Switch style, and just bringing that forward with a dash of modern mobile thrown into it. And you could,
and it is, I believe it is available on mobile, at least the original My Time it's at not Sandrock, wow, the original one, My Time Portia, thank you, was available. I know it was available on mobile, and it's available on PC, obviously, and I think this one might actually also be available on Switch. I think it might be available on at least one of the handhelds, so I'm sure it's available on Steam Deck and those kind of things, so certainly a mobile-friendly game.
Nice, and that goes, and that seems to also go very well with something that you could just be playing with RS and whatnot at the time. Mm-hmm. So yeah, it's got a day-night cycle. You can pause it. Again, if you played Stardew Valley, a lot of things in this are reminiscent, with less farming and more workshopping, and a story and an actual main story, which is really nice. Sounds good, which is something RuneScape players love. Right on. What have you been up to, Tannis?
Making snowballs. A lot of making snowballs and cutting trees because I finally got all my pieces, so I've got that free porter. So I'm cutting trees as much as I can, because gathering is probably the best use.
Well, and Elderwood spirits are cheap right now too, with since they're being dropped by Vorkath. I don't know how many people are using them.
That is an excellent point.
Seeing if they are cheaper than the logs.
I see the gears turning there.
Shout out to the people.
Nice. Okay. Yeah. No, that's true. But that's what I've been doing. So a little bit of the Christmas stuff and a little bit of wood cutting. Nice.
I'm gonna start in RS3 this week. I finished the Vorkath event. I did my PVM circuit. I did an hour of Vorkath, and then I went for another hour of Raziel to see if I could finish the log. Nothing yet. nothing yet. And then went back to Carapac because I said, oh boy, these jazz pages are actually selling for quite a bit. So let's just go, knock out some normal Carapac there. And, that's always a fun boss to go back to because that was my learning PVM boss back in the day. So yeah, it's just amazing to see what Necromancy is capable of there on normal mode. Oh my god, powerful. And, also it was the Rune Score Shard plus the Premier Quest and the Vorkath Shard, and then Gathering, Artisan, Combat, and Marks of War. And, of course, Combat was Necromancy training as well. Closing in on 118 there for that. I don't know if I'm going to hit that by the end of the year, but, I mean, close enough. 118, 120, not missing out on too much damage with that. So, that was fun. Vorkath event done. Glad that got done. Of course, dailies for Christmas, the Christmas Village and all that. But the biggest news of the week came just before before starting up the podcast here on the League side. I have unlocked my final region.
Ooh. Nice.
And tier 6 relic. And for the RS3 side, who might not necessarily be aware of how this all works, you get to choose 3 regions, and that's what you're locked to playing with. And you earn points for doing tasks that unlock relics that are like power-ups. And I just have to commit to my next relic and next region, and that's a thing that I'm going to choice for a little bit after the show here because they're permanent. But I'm leaning towards Tyrannin.
Permanent for 40 days. Which content do you want to see?
Leaning towards Tyrannin and the farming relic.
Yep.
So.
Of course.
Of course, yeah, makes sense.
Well, I mean, it's kind of almost the antithesis to farming because it makes
it's the relic for people who don't like farming, which is I'm surprised you're thinking about it. The other 2 relics in the tier are not great.
Exactly.
To be clear. But the farming relic means you can't farm anymore.
Right.
It means all of your things grow instantly and you don't have to do any farming, you just do it and you're done. And you can walk away from farming forever.
Which I might want this time. But
maybe.
Anyways, how about you? I know you probably want to talk a bit about your League stuff too.
I mean, Leagues have been taking me largely away from RS3. I was gone last week for most of the week, traveling for the holiday. So this week on Monday, I spent almost the entire day on RS3, which more of an oddity for me lately, beyond just logging in for dailies and maybe the occasional couple hours of skilling. Or a Reaper or something. But I did both of the recent quests on Monday, played through a bunch of I was missing, like I said, I was missing 1 reward from the Spirit Shop. I was missing a Centaur Spawnling. So bought that on Monday and got through those quests and really enjoyed that stuff. And did several hours of Vorkath on Monday, couple dozen kills. All on normal mode. I poked into hard mode and decided it was not fun, and so I left. But I did, no food kills for both of the +1s, and then have been pushing the +2. I don't like the, the ads. They're not fun.
No, they're hard to see. They're hard to see.
I mean, they died AoEs, but still. So I started killing that giant, and to be honest, without having to deal with the ads, my kill speeds are more or less the same. So I figure that's just worth it. I just enjoy it more.
Yeah.
So I'm killing 2 giants, which take it or leave it. But the actual fight itself, I do enjoy. So I've enjoyed that. That was a lot of my Monday. And then every day of this week, I've been logging in to take care of dailies, to just round out, the new hub and enjoying the new things. I am still trying to finish Vorkath Hunt. I need to spend some time AFKing. I need to do rituals for the combat one probably. Or if I don't get it from finishing things, I have obviously. I want to do whatchamacallit.
You want to find 200 RuneSpan or not RuneSpan? RuneScore.
RuneScore. I looked at my available RuneScore. There's no way I'm getting 200 RuneScore during the event. That's not happening. I'm, for people that don't know, close to 30,000 RuneScore. There is very little I have left, and it is all miserable. 200 RuneScore is not happening. No shot. Unfortunately, I would love to do achievements. That is my bread and butter. But no, not going to be a thing. I would have to do several hundred clues or a lot of really obnoxious kill count tasks for bosses or some like some world pushing, and like it's not good. It's not a good list of things I have left. So, say lovey on that shard. But I need to do some skilling shards. I've been doing fishing while we're talking, and
that's where mine came from.
Yeah, I've heard people that it's available here, and I'm a couple hours in with no luck. So I must be closing in on the 3 hours. I must be. Yeah. So we'll get that one, and move on from there.
It was just so nice to go back to necromancy rituals. I do have to say, I did enjoy.
Yeah, I'm missing 20. I've done 75 since Hero Pulse came out. I've been real dread about it. I need to get my butt in gear with getting 120 before Grace runs out.
It's February.
So I know. I'm like 30 mil XP. It's bad.
Oh, okay.
It's real bad. So I've got work to do there. So I'll probably go do some of those in a couple of days. But old school wise, ironically, also Vorcap.
You're already there.
No, I did some today. It was utterly miserable. Like, I know I'd almost talk you into it. I'm going to almost talk you out of it because, dang, doing Vorcap without anti-venom is awful. And anti-venom can't.
That was the one thing that could have pushed me almost to Fremennik.
I know. It's miserable without anti-venom. You have to double dose anti-poisons, and I'm using base anti-poisons, and I went in without any kind of buff potions, using a Slayer Staff as my weapon, and like Mystic, with 65 defense and 75 HP. And like,
which for people who are unaware, old school doesn't have much for armor and weapons beyond 80. We don't have the 90 and 95 stuff there.
I mean, they've got much better options than I'm using.
Yeah. So, and with the
I have literally zero melee and range defensive values on my armors. None. At least like their RM has decent defense value. Anyways, so a little bit of that. That's miserable.
And you got to your third region.
I'm in so Fremennik is my third region. Yep. So again, leagues. Everybody gets Misthalin and Karamja unlocked, and then there's like I think 8 other regions. You pick 3. And the regions you select have tasks that you complete for points, and your points go to score on the leaderboards.
Magic users best go to the desert.
Well, the desert, Indoor, Kandor, and a handful of other places. But the core idea being like the regions you pick, you have to do their endgame content for quite a while. So whatever you pick, you have to be able to enjoy that content regardless of what it drops. So like I didn't pick multiple regions with raids because I don't know how they work. Heck, well, I'm going to have to figure that one out. So those kind of things. It's been lovely. Leagues are quite a bit of fun. I am total level 1700 and change. Nice. And just vibing. The relics are super fun, being able to like teleport, having it effectively a Dungeoneering Gatestone that is constantly active to teleport back to your last location.
Tannis, are we convincing you yet?
Being able to like note note things, infinite stacks of food when you go into a
Because there's still 6 weeks left. Lovely. You could jump in still.
Yeah, the only thing that has kept me from doing it is I want something to take with me when I'm done.
The rewards afterwards are like ornament kits you can sell to stuff. They've got they look cool. And they've got a trophy. You get a trophy at the end of it that you can carry around or put in a trophy hole in your player-owned house.
Is there a participation trophy? That's probably my style.
Pretty darn close. Like okay. you hit the bronze trophy real quick.
Okay.
Which is effectively just a cup. You just carry around a cup.
Look, Shane's like, oh my god, I hate participation trophy.
Well, it used to be that in all the previous leagues, your percentile position on the leaderboard was the trophy you got. So the bottom 20% of people got bronze or whatever. And so the people who just logged in would walk away with a bronze trophy or an iron trophy or whatever. And only the top 1 or 0.5% or something got the dragon trophy, and they made it way more common. But leagues are a ton of fun, and it's basically an achievement list. So with my 5 regions, I think there are 12 or 1,300 total tasks, and it's just a laundry to-do list. And it's just that satisfaction of checking something off a to-do list, but constantly. Oh, feels so good.
What they need to do is they need to give RS3 at some point Trailblazer.
That would be fun. I don't know if it's worth the dev time, but If they could make that work, I would love to have it. It would certainly. I mean, clearly, if you look at the player metrics on Old School, even more so than the original Trailblazer League or like a lot of the other releases, you can really like. We broke the record for the number of players active on RuneScape since the release of Old School. So in the last decade and a half, right before RuneScape had the big fall off.
And each one of those is a paying person.
Yes, Leagues does require membership, and so it's like Old School is doing real good. Leagues are working real good, and they have had good player retention in this league more so than they've had in even previous leagues when they've spiked their population up. Like you can see if you look at the player counts on the old, the player tracker
the
website,
misplaced item website,
you can see in November of 2020, you can see when Trailblazer was. I don't have to tell you; you can tell when it started.
And see that's the thing.
Like 2 weeks later, 3 weeks later, it slowly kind of went back down. And then towards the end of leagues, there weren't even extra people playing.
Yeah,
but this league has actually had a much wider peak. It peaked like a week and a half into it going.
And that's the thing. It's a good way of experiencing Old School and a good way of getting to that content. And this will be the last thing I say on it is that I set myself the goal of choosing Asgarnia and whatnot because I wanted the God Wars dungeon as a way of getting back into Old School PVM and that combat system. Which I had, been away with for more than 10 years at this point, and with the Old School show going for a little bit longer at least, it's definitely something that I need to be aware of. So it's just been a good experience on the whole. But
League's fun. Different topic from this podcast. Thank you for listening to our TED Talk about a different game than the one you play.
Oh yeah, of course. It's still what have we been doing, and I mean we can work that in for the what have we been doing section. It's still RuneScape at the end of the day. It's still supporting the same company and whatnot.
Recognizable.
So, and it's all where we began, of course. A little bit different, but all where we began. So it pretty much brings us to the end of this episode. If you want update delivered automatically to you, the best way to do that is to subscribe. We're on all the podcast listeners out there. Apple, Spotify, Google, Pocket Cast, and more. Visit update.show/subscribe. We're also on YouTube, where you can find the video version of the show with us waving and whatnot at youtube.com/RSBANDB. Be sure to give us a like and subscribe there. It greatly helps the channel out. But thanks for joining us.
Yes, thanks for having me.
And Tanis and I will be back next week for another episode of Update, which rumor has it we're talking about another community hit list with something to the effect of recolorable Master Max capes, maybe? But more on that next week. So, see you then, everyone. Take care.
Right on.
Ciao.
See ya.